Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. I wanted to come on here and talk about my upcoming year-end lists and year-end lists in general and discussions of what are the best albums of the year, what makes for a good record that is worthy of an album of the year list. And often in these discussions, I will see talks of, hey, this particular album, what really got me about it, what really got me with this record was that it was so replayable. It was so replayable. I was playing it over and over and over and over and over throughout the year. I was playing this record like crazy. So yeah, replay value. I think when it comes to listening to and enjoying music and becoming a fan of music, replay value is important. It is one of the key factors that we use to decide how much we enjoy something, because we know off the bat that we do not enjoy something if we do not want to hear it again. If something has absolutely zero replay value whatsoever, we know that that record is not going on our year-end list because we wish not to listen to it ever again. And then, of course, you have tracks that you enjoy, you love, stick with you, are super memorable, and you want to listen to them all the time. For example, with me personally, a new record that I've been listening to again and again and again. I found myself replaying the album and a lot of key tracks from the album again and again throughout the year has been Pusha T's It's Almost Dry. There are numerous tracks off that record that I find to be really catchy. Production is absolutely killer, especially those Pharrell beats. And Pusha T is handily one of my favorite lyricists of all time. I find his double entendres and wordplay to be really creative. I love his quality over quantity approach to when it comes to delivery and writing. And yeah, I just think he's one of the best out there, even if his topical focus sometimes does tend to be kind of limited. If you don't want to constantly hear about cocaine, he may not be the rapper for you. But with that being said, even though I love that record and I've replayed the hell out of it, would I put it in like my number one spot for album of the year? It's probably not even going to make my top 10, if I'm being completely honest, because there are other records as far as their conceptuality, their general artistry, what they're going for, what they're achieving, what they're succeeding at doing, the overall album experience and flow from track to track to track on the record, just had a larger impact on me emotionally, even if I don't find myself playing those records from front to back as often, maybe because they're more difficult to digest, maybe because they're more of a mood record, maybe because due to the fact they're a larger experience, I really need to kind of sit down and make time for hearing the entire thing. Whereas with the Pusha T, I can enjoy and jump on individual tracks here and there that I just kind of want to put on as a banger while I'm in the car, something like that. The Pusha T is great and can be listened to and appreciated at multiple levels, but it's also a really great album for just kind of casually listening. You don't need to be there like in your mind, front and center, like digesting every goddamn nuance of it while those nuances are there, for it to be an enjoyable experience. Whereas there are conversely other records that may be more of a challenging listen and may not necessarily be the most pleasant kind of background music. But it's often those records that I personally get the most value out of and will see myself, even if I'm not replaying them the most, I still go back to them in my memory more often, or I still think upon the emotional impact that those records had on me. So it's through that we have some albums that are in this weird little limbo space where they're not being played the most by me and by other people as well, I imagine. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who I'm sure are like huge fans of, like, let's say, Godspeed You Black Emperors, Lift Your Skinny Fists. Yeah, that album's an amazing record. That is, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 record. That is a record that I'm sure a lot of people feel that same way about, but it's also massive and doesn't exactly lend itself to, like, one casual listen a day. Though if there is somebody out there who's listening to that album once a day, I fucking love you and commend you. Making the time for that Godspeed album is quite the feat, and your life must be enriched. But again, there are some records and musical experiences that are difficult to fit into everyday life because it kind of seems like our capacity for art in all forms is just so compartmentalized a lot of the time, especially when it comes to music. So it's like music, its ability to be enjoyed and consumed is dependent on what other stuff you can consume it throughout your day. Rarely is anyone kind of sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to put on this music, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm only going to focus on just the music. I'm not going to do 3 other or 4 other things during. It's not going to be a side dish to one other thing I'm doing. The music is going to be the main focus of my activity during this time. So as a result, albums that lend themselves to that kind of experience are not going to be replayed as much as a Pusha T or any number of albums that are just kind of filled with very simple, straightforward, catchy bangers. So it is now that I've made this point, I would like to say that just because an album has not gotten the most replay from you or does not have an ease of replayability to it because maybe it's harder to digest, it's a little more layered, it's a little more difficult, it requires more time and attention and all that. Just because it's kind of lacking in that way or it doesn't kind of present itself as easily as other records do, does not mean it is worse off than an album that you can just kind of like put on casually and listen to over and over and over without having to think about it. To put it bluntly, I would say replay value is not everything. While replay value is important and your desire to come back to a record is significant, I wouldn't say that it's like the most important thing or the most deciding factor that there should be when it comes to picking or, coming to the decision of what has been a quality piece of work this year. Obviously, you want to play or replay a piece of work that you've heard more than 0 times. If your desire to do so is 0, that's a sign of something else. But I don't think the quality of music should be dictated completely or even mostly, we'll just say partially, by the ease with which it fits into maybe the 3 to 4 to 10-minute windows that we may have at various points of the day to either listen to something and solely do that as a standalone activity or have it fit into some other thing that we're doing as a soundtrack or this or that or whatever. So yeah, those are my thoughts. That's my rant. I'm going to leave that there. Replay value is not everything. It's a thing. It is a thing to think about, but it is not everything. You're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, replay forever.